How would you judge if an individual is numerate? In this famous book in Numeracy, the author shared a story where a TV weather forecaster announced a 50% chance of rain on Saturday, a 50% chance of rain on Sunday, and concluded that there was 100% chance of rain for the weekend. I think most of us have heard or maybe even told stories like that. They reveal the everyday misconceptions that occur when we don't quite have the tools we need to make sense of numbers. So in this series, I want to help you avoid those pitfalls and develop or nurture numerate individuals by developing their number sense. The OECD defines numeracy as the capacity to access, use, interpret, and communicate mathematical information and ideas, to engage in and manage the mathematical demands of a range of situations in everyday life. Saying that's a bit heavy is a real understatement, so let's break it down. At its core, numeracy is about using mathematics in your everyday life. Now, whether that's computing, budgeting, measuring, interpreting statistics, or simply solving problems in day-to-day situations. But here's the thing. Number sense is the foundation. It is a huge part of being numerate. You can think of it this way. Number sense is like learning the language to help us talk about numbers, whereas numeracy is using that language to help us navigate the world. Now, to really understand what number sense is, it will help us to look at situations where students are actively making sense or sometimes nonsense of mathematics. Now, students will always try to make sense of what's in front of them. Take, for example, this boy who was asked to add these two fractions that you now see, and this was his answer. Now, when he was asked to explain his thinking, he simply said, well, I figured I got 7 out of 10 for this test, I got 8 out of 10 for that test, so altogether I got 15 out of 20. Argue with that. Now that made sense in his world. In the absence of an appropriate model, he simply connected this new idea of adding fractions to something he already knew, and that was test scores. Now the logic was clear to him, but the mathematics was inaccurate. So what's the remedy? Well, a visual model. A number line like this, where it will be impossible to get 15/20ths as your sum. Here's another example of a young student trying to make sense of a situation. Here a young girl is very frustrated with this tricky subtraction example that had too many zeros for her liking. Now she knew what the answer is, but she couldn't get it the way the teacher wanted it. So she simply asked, can I do it my way? And the teacher said, sure, what's your way? And she said, well, if I just take one of each of your numbers, I get this. And it's so much easier because there's no regrouping. This student was applying the principle of constant difference. She wasn't just following a procedure, she was thinking flexibly and creating her own pathway to the answer. And most importantly, she had a teacher who valued discourse, creativity, and allowed her to bring her thinking into the classroom. And my last example is one from a much younger child. After modelling subtraction situations with concrete materials many times, she was asked to solve this expression. Now, she quickly said that the answer was 5. Very frustrated, the teacher said, how did you get that? And she said, well, if you start with 5 and take away 1, you're left with 5. This shows how language and representations matter. This child was leveraging her experiences of covering up concrete resources and using that with symbols. It just shows how we really need to attend to the bridge of concrete materials over to abstract notation. So what does number sense really mean? These 3 examples help us create a working definition of number sense. Number sense is an intuitive, flexible and conceptual understanding of numbers, their magnitudes, relationships and operations. It's the ability to make reasonable judgments, use numbers creatively, and to think logically about them in various contexts. These three stories also give us a taste of what number sense is really about. As young students strive to make sense of numbers, they're using flexible thinkings and language and discourse. Our job is to give students quality activities to help them refine that sense making so it aligns better with mathematical ideas. So what kinds of activities foster genuine number sense? For me, they should do one or more of the following. They should provide open input, allowing multiple entry points for students. They should foster multiple models of number, such as counting, relative position, quantity, and even place value. They should involve estimations, approximations, and judgments of reasonableness. They should establish connections and relationships between numbers and operations, and they should support mental computation strategies. They should promote creative thought and logical reasoning. And last of all, they should encourage students' language, discourse, and personal thinking. In the remainder of this series, I'm going to explore each of these hallmarks to give an example of what they look like in action. And as always, if you liked this episode, give me a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe today so you never miss another learning opportunity with me. See you next time.